David Johanson.
Should I sit here? I am not now, nor have I ever been. But I know plenty of people who are.
We used to sit in trams way into the small hours of the day, often talking about music and experiences and inventing things. I think, am I right in saying that the Buster Poindexter idea came from your presence at trams?
Correct, yeah. I had been, first, you know, everybody knows I was in the New York Dolls, and we had kind of like a, this sounds really sick, but we had kind of like a blessed existence. And we kind of got together and rehearsed for a couple of days, and we were the biggest thing in town 2 weeks later. So after that whole thing transpired, that's when I really kind of started paying my dues. And what I would do was get in a van with about 6 guys and travel back and forth across the country opening for heavy mental acts in hockey rinks. And kind of like officiating at Hitler Youth rallies. And when I was home, I used to hang out at Tramps because I lived around the corner. And Monday, there was nobody. Everybody knows Tramps, right? I mean, there was, you know, people would do residencies there. Charles Brown would play for a month, and Big Joe Turner would play for a month, and Big Maybelle would play for a month. And I used to hang out there and read the paper to Big Maybelle and go to the track with Charles Brown, and it was great. And it was open on Monday, but there was nobody singing on Monday. So I thought it would be a good idea to do a show for 4 Mondays at Tramps, which was the Buster thing. So we started out with like 3 guys, and then it got really popular, and I started working there 2 or 3 nights a week, and I was making as much as I was schlepping. And I was actually able to stay home and kind of get a life, if that's what you can call this. And here we are.
Now I see also, because I didn't know that you had such a great interest in songs and things, because what you're doing now is fundamentally based on collections of songs by Harry Smith. How did that come about?
Yeah, well, we call the new band the Harry Smiths, but it's not like we're, you know, devotees of his record collection or anything. It's just kind of like, actually, we were going to do a show and for Alan Pepper, and he called me up one day and he said, well, what do you call it? And I just said, the Harry Smiths. And it's just kind of like shorthand, so people know we're playing kind of like dark, old American songs.
David, over all these years now, what, I mean, obviously you have a great love for music, otherwise you wouldn't be still practicing as you do. But what has your experience been, if you like, to shorten the time period from when you first got interested in music and what your interests in music are now?
Well, it's funny because the Harry Smiths, you know, I mean that by the name of my band. The music we're playing is really the music I started out with as a kid. You know, the first music I was really interested in. So it's kind of come around full circle at this point. You know, it's just something that fell together. Like most of the things I do, you know, that they aren't planned. You know, I just kind of start doing something and see what happens. I'm not very good at making plans. When I make plans, they're usually turn out to be really mundane. And if I don't have a plan, something great usually happens.
Was the rock and roll period that you had, was that something that you're looking back to with some glee? or over the years, what view have you gotten of that time? The New York Dolls, obviously, are one of the most important bands the city ever saw. That you know that by now, I'm sure.
You know, I kind of think of it as like my college. You know, I guess you know, my college days, just being that I went straight from being a really terrible student in high school to being in the New York Dolls. So I kind of consider it my college days, but we had a great time. But you know, it's not that much different than what people do in a frat house. Except in drag.